The most expensive thing you own might not be your car. It might not be your rent, not your phone, not anything you can point to. It might be the version of yourself you're performing for people who aren't even watching. Here's what I mean. In 2023, a financial behavior study tracked spending patterns across 10,000 households. The finding that nobody talked about, the one buried in the data, was this. People spent an average of 23% more in the month after attending a social event, a dinner, a party, a wedding. Just being around people who appeared to have more triggered spending that had nothing to do with need and everything to do with something much deeper. Something most people will never admit out loud. The race to look rich is costing people everything. And the cruelest part? The finish line doesn't exist. I need you to stay with me for the next 10 minutes. Because what I'm about to show you is not just financial information. It's the thing underneath the financial information, the thing that's actually running your decisions. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Hi, my name is Alpha, and in this video, we are going to go somewhere most financial content refuses to go. Not the numbers, not the budget, the psychology, the identity. The story you're spending money to tell, and the brutal cost of that story on the life you're actually trying to build. This matters, more than almost anything else we've covered on this channel. Let's go. Everyone knows someone who looks like they're winning. The Instagram grid is flawless. The outfits change every week. The car is new. The restaurant is never cheap. And from the outside, from where you're standing, it reads like success. But here's what you don't see. The credit card that funded the outfit. The lease payment on the car that requires 2 weeks of salary, the dinner put on a card that won't be paid off for 4 months, the apartment that takes 60% of take-home pay because the zip code matters more than the savings account. You don't see that. Nobody does, because that's the whole point of the performance. And here is where it gets uncomfortable. The person you're watching, the one who appears to be ahead of you, is often the person who is furthest behind, not because they're foolish, because they fell into the most sophisticated trap the modern economy has ever built. The trap is not debt. The trap is identity. And identity is infinitely harder to escape than debt. Let me show you exactly how this works. Meet two people, same city, same age, same starting salary, $58,000 a year. Person A decides, early and quietly, that nobody needs to know what they're doing with their money. They drive a 4-year-old car. They live in the apartment that's slightly too far from the trendy neighborhood. They wear the same 10 things in rotation. From the outside, they look like they're struggling to keep up. Person B makes the opposite decision. The new car on a lease, the apartment in the right part of town, the wardrobe that matches the aspiration, the dinners, the events, the weekend trips that photograph well. From the outside, they look like they've arrived. 5 years later, Person A has $47,000 invested, a 3-month emergency fund, 0 consumer debt, and a quiet, almost invisible financial foundation that is just beginning to compound in ways that will be dramatic in another decade. Person B has $1,200 in savings, $19,000 in credit card and car debt, and a lifestyle so expensive to maintain that a single missed paycheck would be a crisis. Same income, same 5 years, completely different realities. But here is the part that nobody talks about. Person B doesn't feel like they made bad decisions. Every single choice felt justified in the moment. Every purchase had a reason. Every upgrade had a rationalization. And the gap between how things looked and how things were grew so slowly, so invisibly, that by the time it became a problem, it felt like something that happened to them, not something they built. One small decision at a time. That's the trap, not recklessness, reasonableness. The quiet accumulation of reasonable-sounding decisions in the direction of looking rather than building. Now let me tell you something that will completely reframe how you think about this. There is a term in social psychology called conspicuous consumption, coined by economist Thorstein Veblen in 1899. The idea is simple. People buy things not for their use, but for their signal. The watch doesn't tell better time. The car doesn't drive better roads. The bag doesn't carry more. They signal something about who you are, what tribe you belong to, how you rank. This was documented in 1899. Before Instagram, before TikTok, before one-click checkout and buy now, pay later. This impulse is ancient, it is wired, and the modern economy has spent billions of dollars designing systems to exploit it at a scale Veblen couldn't have imagined. Think about what you're up against. Every algorithm on every platform you use is optimized to show you aspirational content, not because it makes you happy, but because it makes you buy. The research is documented. Social comparison on digital platforms directly increases spending, not slightly, significantly. The feeds are not neutral. They are engineered to produce a specific emotional state, the feeling of being behind, because that feeling is the most reliable driver of purchase behavior ever studied. You are not weak for falling into this. You are human, and the system is very, very good at being a system. But here's where the stakes get real. Cardi B, in a rare candid interview, spoke about a period early in her career when she was making real money for the first time and spending it faster than it arrived. Designer bags, jewelry, the full performance of the success she'd always wanted. She said something in that interview that hit differently than most financial quotes I've heard. She said, "I used to buy things to feel like I had something. Then I realized the things were eating me. The things were eating her." That phrase. The things consuming the person who owns them rather than the person owning the things. That's not a metaphor. That's a documented financial pattern, and it happens to people at every income level, from the person earning $35,000 and leasing a car they cannot afford, to the celebrity earning millions and watching it disappear into image maintenance. 50 Cent, who built a global brand, sold hundreds of millions of records, and was associated publicly with an image of extraordinary wealth, filed for bankruptcy in 2015. The public image was impeccable. The financial position was devastated. When asked about it later, he described the pressure to maintain the lifestyle as something that took on a life of its own. The image demanded feeding, and feeding it became the whole job. That's the word I want you to hold: demand. The performance of wealth is not free. It has ongoing operational costs. Every upgrade you make to your visible lifestyle creates a new baseline that now has to be maintained. The nicer apartment you can't unrent. The car payment that has to be made whether or not this month is hard. The social circle, whose baseline you now have to keep up with. Each upgrade is a new minimum, and minimums, over time, become cages. Here is the shift I want you to make. Right now, in this moment. Stop measuring your financial progress by how your life looks. Start measuring it by what your life can absorb. That sounds small. It isn't. A person whose life can absorb a $3,000 emergency without crisis, without a credit card, without calling family, without panic, is wealthier in any meaningful sense than a person who looks successful but would be destroyed by that same $3,000 hit. That absorptive capacity, that ability to take a hit and keep standing, is what real financial stability actually is. Not the apartment, not the car, not the watch. The capacity to absorb. And absorptive capacity is built in the gap. The quiet, invisible, unsexy gap between what you earn and what you spend. The gap that person A was protecting all along while everyone else was watching person B's Instagram. The people who build real wealth, and I've studied enough of them to say this with confidence, almost universally have one thing in common. They made peace, at some point, with being misunderstood, with looking like they weren't winning while they were doing the actual work of winning, with the social discomfort of a lifestyle that didn't match the aspiration. That peace is not resignation, it's strategy. The most expensive-looking thing in the room is almost never the most financially sound thing in the room. And the most financially sound thing in the room is almost never what it looks like from the outside. The gap between appearance and reality runs in both directions. And the people who understand that, who are comfortable living in that gap, are the ones who end up with the most options. Here's what this looks like in practice. 3 things: concrete, immediate. First, audit the performance, not your budget. The performance. Go through your last 30 days of spending and ask one question for each purchase. Was this for me, or was it for how I'd be perceived? Not all of it will be performance. Some of it will be genuine. But the percentage that falls in the performance column will probably surprise you. And that number is your actual leak. Not the coffee, not the subscriptions, the performance. Second, calculate your absorptive capacity right now. If you lost your income tomorrow, how many days could you survive without borrowing anything? Not weeks, days. If that number is below 90, the performance is winning over the foundation, and the foundation is the only thing that matters when things go wrong. Things go wrong. Third, choose one visible upgrade you're currently maintaining that serves the image more than the life. 1. Not all of them, just one, and redirect what it costs, every month, automatically, to something that builds absorptive capacity instead. A savings account, an emergency fund, an investment account, something that grows invisibly while the performance gets slightly quieter. Small, specific, real. I want to end with something that happened recently. A woman posted in an online financial community, anonymously, about a realization she'd had after 3 years of what she called lifestyle creep that had become lifestyle capture. Her words, not mine. She described spending years building the appearance of financial success while her actual financial position deteriorated. Better apartment, worse savings, newer wardrobe, older debt, more expensive social life, thinner margin. She said, and this is the line that stayed with me. She said, I looked successful right up until the moment I couldn't pay my rent. She looked successful right up until she couldn't. That sentence is a warning. But it's also a map. Because if looking successful can mask a financial crisis building quietly underneath, then looking less successful can also mask a financial foundation being built quietly underneath. The invisibility runs both ways. And the people who choose to build in the invisible space, who don't need the performance to feel real, those people are playing a completely different game than everyone watching. Here's what I want you to sit with before the next video. You will meet someone this week who looks like they have it figured out. The life, the style, the ease of it. And you will feel, for a moment, like you're behind. I want you to remember this video in that moment. I want you to remember person A and person B 5 years out. And I want you to ask yourself, not what their life looks like, but what it can absorb. Because next week, I'm going to show you something that will make this video feel like only the beginning of the conversation. The thing that's actually underneath the performance, the psychological driver that most financial content is too afraid to name directly. And when I name it, everything is going to make a different kind of sense. Don't go anywhere. And before you do, please like this video and subscribe to this channel, because the next video is the one that connects everything, and you don't want to find it after someone else already changed their financial life because of it. See you then.